Now, this morning we are asking, can women do nearly nude photo shoots and still call themselves a feminist? We're asking this because the actress Emma Watson has had a bit of a backlash after this Vanity Fair shoot last week where she wore a revealing see-through top. Some people have accused her of being a hypocrite. She says feminism is about freedom and giving women the choice, and she didn't know what the photos that she said are artistic had to do with feminism. Well, we're joined in the studio now by Rebecca Reid from The Telegraph and Caroline Farrow from Conservative Woman. Welcome to you both. Caroline, I'll come to you first. A lot of people on social media, there's always an outcry on social media, isn't there? Saying, how can you be a feminist and talk about the fact that women shouldn't be sexually objectified and then have this picture taken where you're leaving very little to the imagination? It's conflicting messages.
I think so. I mean, one of the things that, Emma Watson has said is that she doesn't understand what feminism has to do with her breasts. Well, you'd think that she might want to work that out before commenting further. I mean, Emma is entitled to call herself a feminist. We can all call ourselves what we want and think of ourselves how we want. But the thing is, she's also spoken out about airbrushing, about women who objectify themselves, about exploitation. And actually, by doing this shoot, she has bought into an industry which likes to sexually objectify women and exploit them. That's fashion and that's Hollywood. So I think a lot of her messages about feminism, particularly those she made in the speech to the UN, the he for she speech, when she said, you know, this is about men too, have undermined that. And you ask yourself, what has this shoot actually done to help men when they're thinking about feminism? You know, is it about women being able to bare their breasts? And actually, I do wonder, I think there's a lot of classism here, because people would look down on a girl who exposed her breasts on Page 3. There was a big, vociferous campaign to get it abolished. And yet when Emma Watson does it, who's a privately educated, right-on, multi-millionaire feminist, everyone seems to be applauding her choice.
Rebecca, what do you think? I mean, a lot of people are saying she's a bit of a hypocrite for doing this. She criticised Beyonce a few years ago for doing something very similar. Beyonce, another huge star who calls herself a feminist, yet poses with not very many clothes on. Some of her lyrics can be seen as demeaning to women. Emma Watson said at the time she was conflicted about Beyonce as a feminist because of that.
So this is my thing. There are a lot of reasons to criticise Emma Watson's feminism. All of us should be thinking about our feminism. All of us should be criticised as feminists because it makes us better feminists. However, this picture is not one of them. This is just a nice picture of a nice-looking girl promoting a film, wearing a dress that she likes. There is no problem here, and what is with the picture? The important thing here is that she is a bankable enough, famous enough, talented enough that she gets a lot of creative control over what she wears. This is not a case of some 17-year-old pop star being shoved into something that she's uncomfortable with. This is a woman who gets to have artistic choice over her shoots. This is clearly an outfit she felt comfortable in, that she chose to wear. Why are we interested in this? Why are we having a row about this when there are so many other things, like the fact that she critiqued Beyonce's feminism, that are actually interesting to zoom in on? That's a problem. That's where her intersectionality falls down.
Well, she did say feminism shouldn't be used as a stick to beat other women with.
I disagree. I think feminism should be used as a standard to hold people to. And if you call yourself a feminist, which I do, which most of the women I know do, then you do have to be accountable for that. And I think it's a bit of a cop-out to go, oh, well, it's just about choice, so I don't have to be asked questions.
But it's true, though. Clothes cannot be defining feminism, can they? Whether, you know, you're wearing not enough of them or too many of them, unless they're exploiting you or suppressing you in some way.
No, feminism isn't about clothing. Feminism is supposedly about female flourishing. But I think you also have to bear in mind, and Emma Watson needs to bear in mind, she is a role model for a lot of very young, impressionable children.
And she's promoting a children's film at the moment, essentially the remake of Disney's Beauty and the Beast, which is
a brilliant job.
Well, yeah, but it's targeted at young girls.
Yeah, both through Beauty and the Beast and of course through her Harry Potter franchise. So she knows that she's looked up to by a lot of young girls, and she's buying into this very airbrushed fashion industry. And why does she need to wear a top that exposes her breasts and sexualises her in that way? When I've got 4 daughters who are all, under the age of 12, 13, and when they're thinking about Disney films, they're not, and wanting to be a princess, they're not thinking of breasts and female attributes, whereas actually this is what Emma Watson is highlighting about herself. She's saying, look at me, you know, here's something that barely covers my breasts. It's not really...
Jonathan and I were talking before we came on air, though, and saying that, you know, the whole point of feminism is, you know, not judging other women, being, you know, seen the same as men. Everybody can do what they want. It's nobody else's business. So in that regard, Emma Watson can pose. She can pose topless. If
yeah, I mean, I'm a huge fan of hers. I quite like the picture as well. But you know, she has done a great deal of you know, fantastic work with the UN. But I just wonder if this is damaging her brand. Is it not sending out a message that conflicts with what she really wants that message to be?
Not at all. I think what's really depressing is that this is a self-made woman with a huge amount of money, a huge amount of power, who was speaking at the UN before the age of 25, and all people care about is
What's the point of doing this? Why has she done this? What was the reasoning behind it? I think because she felt that it was a beautiful outfit. She knows that she loves fashion. She's very well documented for being a huge fan of fashion, and she clearly connected with the designer and the aesthetic, and she wanted to do a beautiful photo shoot. But to call her a bad role model, because, I mean, that just throws aside every other thing that she's done. And what I hear when I hear people saying, oh, she's a bad role model for young women, is if you show your breasts, it doesn't matter how successful, how talented, how self-made you are. It doesn't matter if you speak at the UN. If you get your boobs out, that undermines everything else about you. And that, to me, is what's damaging to say to young children.
OK, well, Rebecca and Caroline, thank you very much. Lots of people getting in touch in social media. And actually, in the name of equality, I'm going to leave the final word to a man, David Pollard, who's got in touch saying feminism should mean the freedom to choose what you do without being told you can't or are wrong because you are a female. Ladies, thank you very much. That was the Sky debate. We've still got plenty more to come here on Sunrise this morning. Stay with us.